Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mr. Superlatin. I come to you directly from the Diaspora Stories, and we are going straight to Gabon without wasting time. If you have never subscribed, I just want you to subscribe. You know, one thing you need to know, that there is this young generation that has just come up with a different kind of leadership and strategy in politics. That this old cocoon of thinking, they don't believe that these people can handle this thing and take it over. Like what has happened in Gabon, trust me. How can one family rule for over 50 years and they don't expect anybody else like to be or to take charge? And sincerely speaking, what I always say that I respect and I adore the Kenyan democracy so much is that President Uhuru Kenyatta, since his father was a president, and he had already supported another candidate who was Raila Amolo Odinga. But when President Ruto was declared as the president-elect, President Uhuru Kenyatta decided to go quiet, to go silent, and he decided to hand over power quietly without asking many questions, without even complaining. But let us look to some of the countries in Africa. When a president is defeated, they are always there. They want to fight for this thing forever. They don't want to leave for a chance for the young people. Let's go straight to Gabon. Recently, this president was declared a winner from the elections, and he was not willing to give power. If you see the general who has taken over, is saying that this is another chance for the Gabonese, to enjoy justice. It's like another liberation for them. In Gabon, this family has been ruling for almost 50 years. That's decades, man. Do you think there are no other communities, no other tribes in this country that think of leadership, who believe in leadership? And trust me, sources say that the current general who has taken over, he is related with President Bongo. Have you noted of that? It is a family kind of thing. And that's why I was having a conversation with one of the political analysts in Kenya, and he was telling me that when they decided that President Ruto must take charge, they wanted to break a monotony of those major families with super support that have enjoyed most of the government support for many years to go back home. That's why the hustler kingpin took it over. Trust me. In one of our neighbor countries here, Uganda, Museveni has been there for decades and currently is mentoring his own son, the rough guy, to take over. And Bobby Wine is also fighting so hard to see if he can have a chance. That's why any opposition leader who comes up in Uganda is being beaten like a burkenge, and trust me, no chance of leading. And this is where we're messing up. Democracy in most of the African countries, it is something that has never grown. Basically, recently we saw what happened in Nigeria. Most of the people said the election was much more fraud. And I don't know with this thing that we call election observers. Election observers are the people that are always kept in the pocket even before. Let's check what happened in Zimbabwe. When Chamisa, everybody knew Chamisa won election. It's not something to discuss about. Chamisa won election, but Mnangagwa, since he's another old cocoon who doesn't want to relieve power to go to any other person, he decided to do what? Yeah, this is Africa, and we must allow the young generation to take charge in terms of politics. Let's not behave like one family or one religion, one country, like one community must lead for certain decades. In most of the countries in Africa, we find that we have different sub-tribes that are in with us, and even all of them, they don't agree in terms of communication. But you find that we believe that one community must rule for 100 years. Even in Kenya, we used to have what we call Nyayo and Kanu was there to lead for 100 years. Despite the president that we have today was one of the Kanu's guy. But trust me, Agwambo, that is Raila Amolo Odinga, had to work so hard and break that monotony of saying that Kanu must rule for 100 years. That's why sometimes people must give applause to Mzee Raila Amolo Odinga and the likes of Kalonzo Musyoka. These are the guys who made sure that Nyayo must go home. Yeah, and remember in 2002, it was only the Rainbow Coalition that stood up and said that, you know, we must take this old kind of thinking home. And also, most of the countries in Africa, let's embrace such kind of thinking. Let's not impose such kind of belief that one family must lead. And trust me, if you have tested governance, leave for the future for other communities, other families also to enjoy. And trust me, the young generation that is coming up in Africa, they are going to transform Africa into the better place. For example, I'll give you the example of the young men, the few young men that I know, and they are going to lead. Let's start straight from Uganda. Let's look at Bobi Wine. Bobi Wine politically is a very bright guy. He is educated. His future in politics is much more stronger, and he has a massive support, both local and international. Let's go to Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, we have Chamisa. Chamisa is a very strong guy. And then there's this another, the Senegalese opposition leader who was arrested and given more cases to answer in court. That guy also has a very bright future in terms of politics. Recently, what happened in Niger? A young guy just took over, you know. Let's come back to my country, Kenya. We have very young people there who are very bright in terms of politically. Number one, Babu Wino. Number two, we got Ndindi Nyoro, Kimani Chungwa. Let's check the kind of like, you know, most people don't like Jalango, but Jalango also is in the same list. Let's check people like Peter Salasya. Despite he's mad, but you see, Peter Salasya faced Governor Barasa in front of President Ruto in Kakamega. And he told him, let this governor not lie to you about sugarcane planting and Mumias sugar in this region, because it's one of the industries that is full of cartels. You know, those are the young leaders that we're having. And trust me, if these leaders will manage to put inside their effort in the next 10 years and to have the generals and take charge of the generals and take charge of the great people, you know, into the army, into the police police rulings, trust me, these people can cause a coup that can take any old regime home. Recently, we have seen what is happening in Uganda. General Museveni is mentoring his young guy, his young son, to take charge. But if he's not careful, Bobi Wine might cause something that people will not like it. But at the end of the day, Bobi Wine might take charge. So, we must make sure and we must come together as Africa and make sure that we tell these old leaders, despite you have been into leadership for a very long time, you must also understand that despite you have families and sons who are also interested in leadership, but we must make you understand that there are also young leaders who are coming up with new ideas, who are educated, they have traveled, they have seen how the world is, and they need to put that impact into governance. It's not all about that you are right all the time. They also need to test this seat and see how it is. And if you're not going to give them a chance, they will incite the public and they will use the armies and the generals to take charge and cause coups in most of the countries in Africa. So it is high time you wake up. And when you are a leader and when you are doing mentorship, it's not a must you mentor your own son. Try pick somebody from a different region, different maybe religion kind of, and mentor them. Give them a chance so that when you exit office, they can also take charge. In our political segment today, let's ask ourselves these questions. Where are we going to be in the next 5 years? Where are we going to be in the next 10 years as Africa? We have a lot of resources. We are blessed with so much. But bad governance and wrong leadership that is insuated by family kind of inheritance leadership has made us to lag behind for many years. If you have never subscribed to this channel, make sure that you subscribe, share our videos, like. This is your boy, Mr. Super Latin from the Diaspora Stories. Thank you.